We have a couple more presentations for you guys. The next one is actually my presentation, so I'll just roll right into it, I guess. No intro for myself. Hi, I'm Tom Snyder, everybody. Good to meet y'all. You might be tired of staring at me or hearing my voice for the past 2 days, but too bad. Lock in for another 25 or 30 minutes so far. So this presentation is called Make It Yours, Customizing and Extending Your Brand. So who would have guessed? They let the marketer present on branding. All right, let's see. I actually haven't messed around with this clicker, so I'll give it a try. Oh, it works. All right, I was able to figure it out. So today, yes, I'm talking about branding. And this is, making your files.com website look like your own. I'm sure a lot of y'all already have a lot of branding on your website, so I'm not going to make the case for necessarily just how to do this, right? It's not only going to be instruction, though I am going to cover that, but it's also going to be a why session, as in why you should do this, why you should add as much branding as we have available, and why it matters, right? So why add branding to your site, customizing the experience. It's not just for your internal teams. It's not just for your clients. It really makes your entire files.com app experience feel like something that you own. So you get buy-in from all the players that matter, okay? All right, so first off, branding builds trust. Now, we're not talking about the cattle ranch kind of branding, even though we're here in Texas. What I'm talking about is making your files.com portal look like your own kind. All right, so when you get an email link to upload files and you land on a page of a website that you've never heard of, and that's the opposite of what we want, right? We want your files.com portal, whether it's uploading a share link, whatever, any of those things, to look and feel like it's your own, like it's your company. All right, now this is about trust. When your clients see your logos and colors, they don't have to ask, oh, did Karen from finance actually send this email, or is this just an elaborate phishing scheme, right? Trust goes up, so does confidence. And then Karen from finance gets fewer confused emails. So everybody wins, right? Internally, so not just for customers, but also internally, branding reminds your team that they're in the right spot, that this is not just some place that they're sending their files off into a digital void, but they're actually using a tool that you paid for and you care about, right? And that actually helps to get buy-in from them. So they don't view it as something that's optional, but something that is owned. All right, so the TLDR here is that branding equals professionalism and trust. And hey, you know what? If you spent 10 grand on a logo, don't you want to put it somewhere besides just coffee mugs in the break room? Yes, so slap it all over your files.com site as well. So first, I'm going to talk about internal branding. I'm going to make the case. This is one of my favorite images that I've ever made. All right, so let's say that you go to a family reunion and everyone is wearing matching t-shirts. Has anyone, show of hands, ever been to one of those family reunions? Yes? Okay, a couple of them. Do you still have the t-shirt? Oh, I got a couple of head nods. Maybe it still fits, maybe not. Either way. All right, well, I know that we've all seen them. They're lime green. They got bold lettering on them. They say Snyder Family Barbecue 2015. On the back it says, "We don't rib around." Basically, it's this matching t-shirt that makes you feel like you're part of a unit. So whenever I go to this family reunion, I probably know about half the people there. I can actually put a name to the face. But I show up and I know that I'm part of a unit with these people. We're family. I feel safe. I feel comfortable. And so does everybody else there, right? So internal branding is the family reunion t-shirt of your website. All right. It is not that you need one to survive, but once it's on, you do feel like you belong, right? So let's use a more recent and maybe more relevant metaphor. Okay, so I know a lot of folks have been like working remotely, working from home. We probably all experienced that in the pandemic to some extent, right? Well, Branding internally, I like to say that it's kind of like when you're working remote, but it's actually putting on real pants. Technically, it's optional, but whenever you do, really changes the energy of everything, right? All right, so whenever your team logs into files.com and sees your logo, your colors, it's a little nudge that says, hey, you work somewhere that actually cares about this kind of stuff, and it really matters. Besides, you might be using files.com storage, but of course, chances are you're using your own on-prem servers, you're using some other cloud storage platforms, and shouldn't those really feel like your own also? I think so, right? So no more UI that implies you only set up this portal like 10 minutes ago and then sent it off to your clients or for your team to use. Now it says, look at us. We have the hex codes, and we are not afraid to use them. All right, so that's the case for internal branding. Let's change gears a little bit, talk about external branding. Now, this is where the magic happens. All right, picture this. Your customer clicks a link to download a contract, and boom, there's your logo, right? There's your colors, there's your vibe. It's very classy. This is a green flag. We call this a green flag, right? All right. Now, whenever, I like to liken it to like whenever I open my mailbox at home, which I don't do near as often as I should. Usually I get there and it's stuffed, and then I really need to like, never mind. I'm not going to waste my time telling y'all with that story. But whenever I get a letter that's like a green envelope, it's a square shape, it's got my name handwritten on it, it has a wax seal on the back, you know that letter is getting opened, right? Somebody took the time and the energy and the care to put all of that effort into making something just for me. Versus the white envelope that says current resident on the front, trash. It's hitting the recycling bin on my way inside the house, right? All right, I don't need to wonder if it's legit. So this is the same thing that you want with your clients. You don't want them to wonder, is this legit? So your branding eliminates all of that. It gets rid of the existential dread, makes your site feel familiar and safe. And these first impressions really matter. So branding is like a digital firm handshake, or it's like that wax sealed envelope landing inside everybody's mailbox. All right, so now that I've covered the why, like I promised, I'm going to talk about the how as well. Because it's one thing to want your file portal to look like $1 million, but it's another thing to know the buttons to actually push to make it look like $1 million. All right, so this is the files.com default state. We're probably all familiar with it. We know it, we love it, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and customize it. You've probably seen, and I know Claudio just mentioned some of the customization that we can find. So we have a customization tab down here on the left menu. So if you hit that, then you will find some of the things I will walk through here today. And I'm going to cover almost all of them. I'm not going to cover language. That's just changing the language, which actually reminds me, quick story. So I was at a trade show, working a trade show a few weeks ago with some of the marketing and some other folks. And someone came up to our booth and was like, hey, tell me about files.com. And he was speaking like kind of broken English. And I was like trying to explain, like he's like, oh, does it do this? Does it handle that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really understand exactly what you're saying. And he's like, okay, let me pull out my phone. Translate app. And so he's trying to translate into Japanese. And I'm trying to translate back into Japanese. And I said, you know what? I can just show you a quick demo. I grab my laptop. I change the language into Japanese. And I'm like, here, you know what? It's your playground. Go for it. Just like that in 2 seconds. The hard part was now that it was all in Japanese, once the demo was over, I was like, oh no, I got to change this back into English. I'm like, do I know the platform well enough to be able to navigate it by myself and do that? I'll let you know when I figure it out. All right, so the customization tab there on the left bottom menu. So we're going to walk through some of these today. And first, we're going to start off with the site name. Now, these are the things that really make your brand shine, right? This is the first and most obvious one up there. It's your site name. It's important because it's not there just so that whenever you log into the portal, you can remember what company you work for, but it's also there to populate the automated emails that go out as well. So very important whenever you're sending emails to your team, to external clients, to whoever, right? They need to know who it's coming from. So again, we get know, like, and trust. So the next box is that we can edit is the welcome emails. So you can add a custom message here, you can CC someone, etc., and basically let them know that they're in and they can trust the welcome email. If they just get a random email that says, hey, welcome to our platform, sign on and go ahead, and doesn't have any branding or any mention of your company, your brand on it, I would be very worried if that person in your company just opened that email and clicked through. Maybe you should have security talk with those guys. All right, so here I have my welcome emails enabled. I have I have myself CC'd, and it's going to, let's see, and I don't have a password included in my email. Perfect. All right. Now, the next tab, or the next sort of box in the customization tab is our interface colors. Now, this is where you can add your brand's color palette, site header, footer text, all that sort of stuff, a background image. And we're going to a favicon, reply to, email address, all that sort of stuff. So as an example, I wanted to use my own personal website so that we can really see what this looks like. So this is my personal website. Here, if you know me, yes, it looks silly. That's par for the course. It should be expected at this point in time. All right, but this is going to really give us the opportunity to flex the branding and customization muscles here, right? So note my logo down here. I call this World Click. My background image, some of these colors like this purple, green, etc. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so in the interface colors edit screen, I can swap out the default files.com color palette with my own, and I'm using the color palette from my personal blog like I just showed. So I'll add in these obnoxiously bright colors, just copy and paste the hex codes, or can click the color swatch to open up a color picker. If I just want to choose some colors and it doesn't really make that much of a difference, I can go ahead and do it that way as well. And make sure to hit save once you have them all in there. All right, so once all my colors are in there, I'm also going to add my logo, of course, and I'm going to use the same background image that I had in the hero area of my website so that it stays consistent. So there's going to be no mistaking that if somebody signs into this page, that they are going to be on my website right here. All right, so I got my logo in there, and this is going to make the whole experience feel seamless for users. All right, come on, Tom. I know you can find the image. Where is it? Oh, is it down there? No. Not that. No, not that one. Try again. It's a little higher up there. We'll get there eventually. That's the one. There we go. All right. Thankfully, future Tom is a little smarter than past Tom. I like to think so, at least. Don't forget to hit save. Okay, good job. All right, so now my sign-in page goes from looking default to very on brand. So users know that they are at the correct login page. Like I said, there's no mistaking. All right, now, once they log in, they know that they're inside the correct site as well. Adding my own colors brands the in-app experience for my internal users. And one more thing, that's site-wide branding. Awesome. So earlier, Amy said something about folders when she was talking about content collaboration. So I want to dive in a little bit deeper on this one. Let's say that I have a folder that I want to specifically relate to a single campaign or for a client or something like that, right? Maybe it's an opportunity. It doesn't need a child site like we talked about yesterday, but I do need a folder for those places, for those things to land. And I want to impress my client, so I want to put their logo in it. All right. Now, let's say I also only want to have some users access this particular file for the certain clients. We know we can set up those folder permissions, but we can also set up the branding on the per folder basis, right? So all I need to do is navigate in the file selector to the folder that I want to brand, go up to settings, choose my logo that I want to brand this folder with, and then select it, and I hit save, and then I know it works because I can see the little logo there in the top corner has changed. So if I back out to the parent folder, it goes back to my logo, and then if I enter into this folder, I can see that it's now a files.com logo. So my files.com memes folder is now branded with a files.com logo. Perfect. My goal, like with my last presentation I did a few months ago, was to have the presentation with the most memes in it. I think so far I'm doing pretty good. All right, now on to making your files.com site shine for your external users. Sorry, so that was talking internal teams for the most part. Now for your external users. I don't simply want to send my partners or clients to an unknown website with a wink, hoping that they'll sign up just because I sent it to them, right? Folks are rightfully suspicious of malicious links and phishing scams and the like. And like I said, if they just click through anything that they get sent, that's probably a problem. All right. Now, almost just as bad though, in my opinion, is sending users to a personal cloud storage container, like your personal Dropbox or a personal Google Drive. Yes, I'm sure it happens out there, but like it's severely lacking in professionalism, right? Those might be trusted brands. We all know Dropbox, we all know Google Drive, etc. But we want to take it a step further and really own that relationship even more, right? Like this is what we call small boy stuff. And what we want to do is make sure that our professionalism is never in question. We want to look like big boys, big players, right? So that's why I've branded my files.com site. Now, when I need files from my partners, like a bunch of file transfer themed memes, for instance, the upload page looks amazing right there. Looks like I got my purple buttons, I got my yellow banner up there, my logo, and whenever I send a share link, it looks like that as well. Beautiful. Love it. All right, so branding is looking good, colors are popping, logos are shiny, but now we want to go full send on this, take it to the next level. And that means adding a custom domain. All right, now not typically, but whenever you sign up for a files.com site, you're going to get a subdomain of files.com. That's great, wonderful, love it. But of course, you want to own this relationship even more and use a custom domain to wipe files.com completely out of the equation. Don't worry, we're not offended. This is your brand's moment to shine, so you do you, and we love it. All right, so the way that we do this is just create a CNAME record of whatever subdomain you decide that you're going to use on your own sites. Generally, we suggest something like inbox.yourbrand.com or files.yourbrand.com, something like that, and just have it point to the assigned files.com subdomain. And there's lots more documentation in there if you need help doing that. All right. There's a few other things that I want to talk about for custom domains here as well. All right, now you can let files.com handle all your certs, or you can just say, no thanks, I've got this, manage them yourselves. Totally great, love that. Also, for dedicated IPs, I know that these are essential in many cases, like you need to get past like a finicky firewall. Dedicated IPs make that whitelist request much easier, right? Same thing with firewall diplomacy. It's great whenever we can say, hey, please unblock this subdomain of our own websites rather than just some other random website that your IT teams or whoever it is, your CISO's like never heard of. It's a bit of a heavier ask. Insecure ciphers, which they sound a lot cooler than they are. I read a little bit more about them and I was like, oh. But basically, if you want to use these insecure legacy ciphers, then you need a custom domain to have them work properly. And then, of course, like Amy mentioned with child sites, if you're managing multiple brands, then yes, you can also brand, can and should brand each of those child sites as well. That way you make all of those subsidiaries feel just as special as they are. All right, boom, here we go. So my custom domain set up. Let's see, files.tomsnyder.blog. Wonderful. The files.com logo, because this drop point goes to a branded folder right there for files.com themed memes. It's beautiful, trustworthy, seamless, just like your website experience should be, right? All right. Now, of course, what sort of marketer would I be if I didn't talk about email? Now, I know that we're often on like the sending through Gmail type, but we also need to think about the automated emails because those really matter as well, too. So I mentioned earlier, set your site name because that's what it looks like your automated emails are coming from. So we can set a custom SMTP here underneath the customization tab. So that way, instead of using the files.com mail servers, which we'd love for you to do, they're there for you to do, that's wonderful. But whenever you're sending external automated notifications, we would love for them to look like they're coming through your mail servers as well, right? And I'm sure that you would prefer that too. So with custom SMTP, instead of your emails coming from no-reply@files.com, they come from hello@yourbrand.com, which is a beautiful experience. Absolutely love that. It makes your recipients more likely to open the message, less likely to mark it as spam, and way more likely to actually take action on it, which no doubt is what you want. All right, so if you're into trust and deliverability, then custom SMTP is your new best friend. I think Claudio mentioned a little bit earlier, he talked about watermarking. I want to actually go just a little bit deeper into watermarking because I think this is super cool here. Watermarking helps make your files go from like basic camera roll to professional looking proofs. So if you're dealing with a lot of media or even text files, you can watermark those as well, right? So you can watermark these previews with your logo, whatever size you want. You can change that, make it bigger, smaller. You can change the opacity if you want it to just barely show up. And you can also set the folder that you want the watermark to show up in, too. So this way, whenever you create a share link or users are just perusing your folders in the app, those docs appear with your watermark. And you can watermark text docs with things like confidential, for internal use only, or something, that might make it seem like this is just for your eyes only and not for everybody. So I love watermarking as a feature because of that. Now, like what Claudio said, is that if somebody downloads that, the watermark is not going to appear on that. So they will get the original image. The watermark is just appearing for the previews and then the share link previews as well. So if you don't want those users downloading the images, then just set your folder to be preview only so that they don't have download permissions and they can only view the watermarked images and text. All right, and I've watermarked all of my memes, so no one's going to steal my memes. That's great. I was very worried about that. And this is what the share link looks like whenever someone lands on it. All right, perfect. Great. Okay, so the last little bit of customization that I'm going to cover is actually customizing the left menu itself. Now, does everyone need all of the features all of the time? I'm willing to bet that they probably don't. So you can hide the features that you don't want folks using based on their access level. If you notice here, we have these two columns. It says visible to folder admins or visible to standard users. So let's say you don't have any developers working in your site, so you can nix the developers menu. Or let's say that you want to be able to set up integrations, but you only want admins to do that. You can turn it off for your standard users, leave it on for your admins. All right, so branding. Again, not the hot iron cattle kind. This is the making your file portal look less like a tax form and more like a trusted professional level experience. So nobody wants to upload files to something that looks like it was built in the dial-up era. Branding fixes that. Your logo, your colors, it tells people, yes, this is us, yes, it's safe, and no, we didn't get hacked. Now, internally, let's go back to that internal case. it makes your team feel like they're using something legit, not just flinging files into the void, and just sort of drives that brand affinity home. Makes them feel like they're part of a team. Remember family barbecue? All right, the TLDR again, branding builds trust, trust builds confidence, and confidence equals fewer confused emails. All right, you've got a great logo. Don't just slap it on your mugs. Put it where it matters on your site. Now go on and brand it like you mean it. Great. Any questions for me? I wasn't really expecting to do a Q&A session, but anyone have any questions over that? Yes. We got one back here.
Hey, one question for how does it work if we have a change root jail for external users, and then if we set up the branding on the folders, does basically will that folder branding be what they see immediately?
Let's see. Can you repeat the first part of that again?
If we have a change root jail for basically for external users.
Okay. That's a good question. Vivek, do you know the answer to that? Can you step in here? It was asking about, oh, you can restate the question.
Yeah, so basically, I think the files.com vocabulary is a little different. In FTP world, we call it a change root jail, but basically where you lock someone into a specific subfolder and they can't navigate up.
Jail them inside
I
of
see.
a subfolder, and
So-
will you still do that? Well, yeah, that's an interesting one. If you've actually done the fencing, right? Is that what you're talking about, or?
Like permission fencing?
Okay, so Claudio seems like he understands what jailing means, so how about you come up here? I'm trying to make sure that jailing is interpreted correctly.
Yeah, so he means the FTP jailing, the root folder jailing. Oh, excuse me. So the short answer is yes, but bear in mind the branding is web-based. So they'll be jailed, they'll see the folder, and if you put branding, like they'll see your site branding colors. If you brand the folder, they'll see the unique logo on the folder. So it all works out as long as you're on the web. Obviously, if you're SFTPing or FTPing, you're not going to see anything except for our MOTD and all that fun stuff. Does that help?
Okay,
Awesome.
so it wouldn't even apply to SFTP because the branding wouldn't show up on that folder.
Exactly.
For SFTP. Only for the web.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thanks. Good question. I hadn't fielded that one before. Any other questions? Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, and we can move on to the next presentation.